this session as well? All right, perfect. All right, just give me a second to share my slides here. All right, can we see this? Yeah, okay, great. Oh, it looks like it's still loading. Okay, are we good now? Yeah, okay. My computer is a little slow today, so I apologize for any technical difficulties here. Okay, so we did the community building. First of all, we are as excited. I don't know if there's any Friends fans here, but we are as excited, if not more excited, than Phoebe is in this GIF for camp to start. So we just wanted to make that known. Our excitement cannot be understated. All right. We're going to start with a few questions, actually. So it'd be really nice to get your responses either verbally or through the chat. The first question we want to ask is, arts and culture can be defined in so many ways, and it's such a broad space, which makes it really exciting to talk about and engage with. So the first question we just want to throw out to everyone is, for me, art is... So how would you finish that sentence? You can feel free to put your answer in the chat, or if you want to speak, you can feel free to do that too. If you want to maybe just raise your virtual hand or just come off mute, that works too. Okay, I see a lot of responses in the chat. That's amazing. Yeah, form of expression, how we express ourselves as humans, creativity, dance, fun in expressing feelings, use of intellect. That's really interesting as well. A way of expressing my skill and imagination in any way that I want. Yeah, absolutely. A lifestyle. These are wonderful responses, and they are all true, right? Art for each individual can mean so many different things, and that is something we really want to kind of take away from this experience, is to learn about how it can how it can mean different things to different people, and what that means for how we interact with one another. So that's awesome. All right, the next question is relating to culture. What comes to your mind when you hear or read the word culture? If you want to share some responses there as well. I guess in other words, what does culture mean to you? Okay, identity. A way of life. Diverse traditions in our world. Awesome. Yeah, for sure. So all of these are true as well. Yeah, customs and beliefs that shape who we are, both collectively and individually. Values, for sure. Yeah, culture is also such a broad space that can be defined in many ways, and all of these things that are mentioned in the chat can certainly contribute to culture and contribute to our identity. Maybe I'll just, if I can call on one of the individuals who've put in a response. If you're comfortable to unmute, maybe if you want to elaborate on what you were saying. Maybe Sana, you mentioned diverse traditions in our world. Sana, would you mind expanding on that?
Yeah, so Hazar Imam always talks about diversity and the importance of pluralism, and that can be expanded in a lot of different ways. And so when I think of culture, I just think of the diversity in our Jamaat when it comes to, the rituals. When you think about the music and just other aspects of how we celebrate our identities. That's what I think about when I think of culture, just the traditions and the diversity within our own Jamaat.
Amazing. That's a wonderful, wonderful response. Yeah, all of these things are absolutely true. Diversity within our Jamaat and, outside our Jamaat, within the different geographic regions where we come from. One of the great things about Connect is we come from so many different countries. and tradition. So being able to experience that all together is such a unique opportunity for all of us. So yeah, thank you for sharing, Sana. All right. Next, we have a few more quick questions, and they're just kind of agree or disagree. So we'll ask you to respond via the buttons on Zoom. So just so I know that everyone knows where they are, can everyone just put a thumbs up on their Zoom screen? You could also use your physical hand as well if you'd like. Okay, perfect. And raise your virtual hand as well, for just so I know that you know how to do that. Okay, amazing. Now it looks like everyone wants to talk, which is like every facilitator's dream. Okay, perfect. So the first question we have here is, art allows me to express myself. Agree or disagree? Okay, awesome. I see a lot of thumbs up, which is wonderful. Maybe Noreen, can I ask you to talk about how art allows you to express yourself?
Art allows me to express myself in a way that sometimes I decide to draw whatever's on my mind, because sometimes images help me understand what various things in our world that words can't really, I don't know, describe.
Amazing. Yeah, yeah. You know, sometimes words can only capture so much, and there's other ways we need to, you know, have an outlet to express ourselves. You know, whether it's through song or dance or painting or any of the many forms of art there are. So that's awesome. All right, we'll move on to the next question, which is, the role of art is simply to beautify things. And in fact, I'm just going to go off of share screen just so we can easily see each other for these next questions, and I'll just read it out loud. So that, once again, the question is, the role of art is simply to beautify things. Okay, I see a lot of disagrees, which is good. All right, if I can maybe just call on one person to share. Alicia, would you mind sharing why you disagree with that?
Yeah, so I personally think that the role of art is not to only beautify things. As we talked about previously, some people use art to express themselves, and that could be to present things the way they are and not only to beautify them.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, and we'll touch on that in a few minutes as well. But that is a great way to set up the conversation. Okay, next question is, actually, you know what? For the interest of time, I'm going to just do one more here, which is, can we connect with the divine through art? Agree or disagree? Okay, I see a lot of thumbs up as well, which is awesome. I will, maybe I'll pick on one of our Yavers just to share their thoughts briefly on this. Waleed, would you mind sharing why you have a thumbs up?
Yes, absolutely. So when I do my art, especially when I do make some masterpieces, for example, out of, let's say, for example, acrylic. So when I get so much engaged into that piece that it actually sort of connect me with in that moment. And I lose the track of time. I lose the track of where I am. I completely get into that piece. And yeah, so I think that's the best way for me to connect with the divine is through my art, visual art, for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. That's a great response. You know, I think for many of us, especially on the topic of connecting with the divine, it's often a very personal journey, and there's very different ways that individuals do like to connect with the divine. And you know, art is one of those ways that traditionally over the years, you know, and over the course of time, has been a very powerful tool to connect with the divine. All right, awesome. Thank you for participating in that. I will throw up my slides again in a second. All right. Okay, if you can give me a thumbs up when you can see this again. Okay, a couple more quick interactive pieces actually, very quickly. So just put your answers in the chat box. So this logo here, is it for Aga Khan Gardens and Parks or Aga Khan Trust for Culture? 50-50 chance here. Put your answer in the chat. All right, let me just pull up the chat here. Okay, AKTC. Seems like a clean sweep here. Awesome. Yes, it is. It is the AKTC. So we'll be interacting a lot with the AKTC during the course of our program. This logo here, is it for the Aga Khan Museum or Aga Khan Historic Cities program? If there's anyone in Canada or the Toronto area, hopefully this is a little bit easier. All right, AKM, perfect. Yes, it's the Aga Khan Museum logo. Perfect. All right, we know our logos. By the way, I love all of our, you know, Aga Khan AKDN institutional logos. They're also pretty geometrically. Yeah, I feel like I could look at these all day. Okay, let's take a look at our journey. Once again, another Friends GIF. I think we might need to diversify this a little bit, but we can't get mad at too many Friends GIFs here. Okay, so first of all, just a very brief intro into our family structure for arts and culture. As I mentioned, I'm the managing director for the arts and culture camp, but the team we have is absolutely fantastic. So we have Soha and Malimu Sanuber, who are our co-AMD programs, you know, kind of looking over the curriculum and the content of the camp. Malimu Rahim is our AMD for operations. He is, you know, kind of overseeing all of the technical aspects of the program. And then we have 5 camp families, which you would have seen in the earlier presentation. Each of these families are led by fantastic people, and the you know, from FCDs, PDs, OPDs, faculty, community wellness team members, facilitators. It is an excellent group of people. We, just a couple of things to point out maybe is that not only are the individuals selected to run these camps, run your camp families, very talented and very skilled in what they do, but they're also very diverse. They come from various backgrounds in terms of their geographic location, their professional background, their educational background, their interests. There are so many different forms of diversity within our group, which will really allow us to connect with one another, especially since we are such a diverse participant population as well. You know, it will allow us to have different lenses into the conversations we have. So I'm really excited for all of you to meet your Yavers and your Malimus in your respective camp families, and I'm sure you'll have an amazing time getting to know them. Okay, so let's jump into our journey a little bit here. On day 1, we are going to touch on arts and culture being part of the human experience. So, you know, in a nutshell, you know, what that means is that arts and culture isn't a kind of siloed thing where it's its own separate entity. So, for example, you know, it's not that art happens on the side and culture happens on the side, but it's woven into our daily lives in terms of what we do. So, for example, our language, the food we eat, the way we interact with one another, it is, you know, that could be considered part of culture, but it's kind of woven into our human experience. So we just want to touch on that piece a little bit. On day 2, we'll talk about the what and why of culture. So we have, as you know, the AKTC, the Aga Khan Trust for Culture, that we are interacting with over the course of this program. But why, you know, why does Hazar Imam have the Aga Khan Trust for Culture? You know, why is it important for our institutions to care about culture? So we'll touch on that and the fantastic impact that the AKTC makes. And we actually have a couple of guest speakers from the AKTC, people from high-level leadership positions that we'll actually get a chance to interact with directly and ask questions and kind of understand what they do. So it's a really great chance for us to learn in depth from the people that run the AKTC, why they do what they do and why it's important. On day 3, we'll talk about art as a catalyst for change. So this part personally really excites me because, as you're probably aware in this world, there's so many social issues that are coming to light. And I think a lot of youth and just a lot of people in general are very passionate about social issues and making a change in the world. So we'll talk about how art can be used to change the world and to create, social statements and to create change ultimately. So that is something that we'll dive deep into, and hopefully that is something that you find of interest and something that you can take away. So if there are any social causes, for example, that you are passionate about, you'll get to explore how we can use art to advance those causes. On day 4, we'll talk about culture, art, and development. So, we'll have questions that are posed, such as how can architecture and the preservation of culture be a catalyst for change? And one of the things we'll do is we'll have a guest speaker from the Aga Khan Historic Cities program. And, we'll be able to understand from them how the Aga Khan Historical Cities program and the preservation work they do can be a catalyst for change. On day 5, we'll touch on heritage and creativity. So day 5 is actually really exciting, as are all of the days, but day 5 is exciting in particular because we are combining with the climate change camp. So we will have a chance to explore gardens and parks and understand how, the impact that they make from an arts and culture perspective, but also we'll get to interact closely with the climate change camp as well and understand the climate change impact of that space. And it'll be a great opportunity for all of us to meet new people in the climate change camp and get a different perspective. So that will be a cool day where we can kind of mix with one another. Day 6 will be about about expressions of art. So how do different forms of expression serve as a way for inspiring us, for sparking questions, sparking creativity? And we will have interaction with the Aga Khan Museum. And we'll actually have the chance to go on a virtual Aga Khan Museum tour, which we are planning. So that is also super exciting, and I think will be quite interactive for all of us. And then lastly, we'll talk about engagement with the divine, which we talked about. So, how does art provide as a means for engaging with the divine? And, one thing to note here is that this is just kind of a part of our daily journey. You would have heard Molly Mushazia talk about, all of the other aspects of camp too. So we have a whole lot of different exciting workshops as well, which will kind of weave in and out of these themes, but they'll also be their own separate curriculum. So, whether it's calligraphy or dance or photography, whatever you're interested in that you have signed up for, those workshops will be a super exciting part of our 7-day journey as well. And then in addition, we also have our gather activities, which Molly Mushazia touched on. So, cultural bingo, a connect voyage, family visits, which are really exciting. A night of devotional expression, which is a chance for all of our participants to show off their talents, whether it's through song or dance or another form of expression. So, there's a lot of interactive elements that are woven in the days as we go throughout the week. This is just a quick touch point here on the virtual field trips that we're going on. So the AKTC is one of them, which I touched on. Family visits on day 3, which I just alluded to, is a chance for everyone to bring their family and their loved ones to the screen and interact with other families and loved ones. And this is something that always has such fantastic reviews from our prior Connect experiences, because we really get to learn about one another and learn about each other's families and make really unique connections that we otherwise wouldn't be able to do in a, if this was a physical camp, you know, you wouldn't be bringing your families with you. So this is a really unique opportunity for us to interact and share stories. And it's usually a very powerful experience for all of us. So we're all really looking forward to that. Yeah, and then the Aga Khan Historic Cities project as well, which I mentioned, Aga Khan Gardens and Parks and the Aga Khan Museum. We actually have a few kind of visual slides for this as well. The Aga Khan Trust for Culture, as I mentioned, will have a couple high-level guest speakers, family visits. Once again, awesome way to stay connected. Does anyone know, this is a famous overhead picture here. Does anyone know what we're looking at here? If you do, feel free to throw an answer in the chat. Al-Azhar Park, perfect, yes. Al-Azhar Park in Cairo, this is, you know, a really famous initiative that is, you know, a really beautiful project that the AKDN and the Aga Khan HCP has undertaken. So we'll get a chance to look into that. Aga Khan Gardens and Parks, there will be some interaction there. And like I said, a virtual tour with the Aga Khan Museum. One more thing to mention is that you will get a pre-camp task for arts and culture, which you will be asked to complete on day one. You'll receive instructions for this formally, hopefully tomorrow at some point via email and also via the portal. So definitely look out for that. But maybe just to give a very quick overview of what's required, we'll ask each of you to make a cultural map of sorts, or, you know, a slide or a page to kind of express your identity. And, you know, the instructions will walk you through in detail how to do that and what questions to think about as you prepare these pieces. But, you know, these are just a couple of examples of what you might prepare. So for example, this one to the left here, you know, there's perhaps an individual from India that speaks Hindi. This kind of graphic on the bottom might represent their family. It looks like they enjoy having chai. So, you know, just different pieces of pictures that kind of represent who you are. And on day one, you'll have a chance to share this. You'll get a chance to speak to what you've done for about 2 minutes with a group of 8 people or so. So that is something to look forward to. And like I said, you'll receive the instructions for that hopefully tomorrow in your email or on the portal. Okay, I think that brings us to the end of the presentation, and that is a nice little jig that that we're doing here. Maybe Yav, Iman, you can add this to your GIF guide as well. I feel like this would fit in. Yeah, we can't wait to have you there. Here with us. I'm going to stop sharing now. I think we have about a couple minutes left. Thank you for your attention. I know I talked a lot, which isn't ideal. I get tired of myself too, but I will give everyone an opportunity to ask any questions that you may have. So if there are any questions, feel free to come off of mute or put them in the chat. No questions. Oh, there's one here. Where can I find the portal? That is a good question. I believe you will get instructions via email that will give you access to the portal with your login information. And I believe that is coming out, if it hasn't been sent out already, in the next 24 hours or so. So in the next 1 or 2 days, you should be receiving an email with the link and your login information. Any other questions? None at all. Okay. So either everyone's really confused or everyone's super clear on what to do. One or the other. Awesome. Okay. Yeah, so thank you for taking some time with us. I believe we are ready to go back to the breakout room actually, but let me just Actually, Molly Mushazia, if you can, if you wouldn't mind just messaging in that group to say that we've wrapped up now. And I think it looks like the climate change group is done as well. So we'll probably be heading back there momentarily.
Sorry, Malimo Ali.
Yeah.
There's a question in the chat box.
Oh. Good question. Will we receive a certificate upon completion of camp? Yes, you will. As long as you are there for a certain amount of days, and I believe you'll need to attend 6 out of the 7 days unless you have excused absences. So unless there is, a particular reason that you have alerted us to beforehand, those kind of we can work with. But I think, talk to your facilitators, your Yavers and your Molimus, and they'll be able to kind of talk you through the piece about attendance, and just make sure you kind of keep them up to date in terms of whether you are or aren't able to attend certain days. But yeah, there will be a certificate if you've met the threshold of minimum days attended. And yes, camp is seven days. Molly Mushazia has it correct. So August 2nd to August 8th. All right, we are closing the breakout room in about 10 seconds. So once again, thank you everyone for joining us, and we will see you back in the main room.